Nationers, I'm sure many of you guys have heard of the company Airbnb, but did you know that there is a darker side to Airbnb's that many of us do not know? Well, luckily for us today, Linus Tech Tips is going to take us through an Airbnb that he rented to look for hidden cameras. The whole dark side about Airbnb's is that some Airbnb owners will put secret microphones, hidden cameras to maybe log your activity while in their rental. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let's get right into it.
If you've ever stayed in an Airbnb, I'm sure that you've wondered, can I sit on this toilet without worrying about some creep with a spy camera?
That's fair. That's very fair.
There's gotta be some way to know for sure. And there is. They aren't cheap, but this is an NLJD.
NLJD.
Counter-espionage
Oh my goodness.
device that has famously been used by the CIA and other intelligence agencies
Really?
to detect everything from hidden cameras to microphones to data transceivers. In fact, it can detect any electronic device, even if it is switched off. Watch this.
Okay, that phone's off. And then you'll get the frequency from it. Okay.
There's one of my cameras.
Oh, okay. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, imagine he just like accidentally found a camera in this Airbnb. Now, like I said, there is this weird world of Airbnb rental owners that like to spy on their tenants. It's a weird legal morality, ethical. It's very weird. So I'm glad that we get to see this. I've stayed in a few Airbnbs myself. I've never used like almost like a metal detector like device to find cameras. So this will be an interesting watch. The audio is so weird. Oh, there's a camera there. Okay.
Freaking sick.
At least we know it works.
Found another one. This thing is so powerful that it will cook your eyeballs and is literally illegal to use in Japan, Switzerland, France, Germany, and many other countries.
Oh, that's, okay.
Given how difficult it can be to access Cold War era spy equipment for many of you,
that's so interesting that it's illegal in so many countries.
Detector off of Amazon to see which one works better.
Okay, so we're testing. Ooh.
This one seems to be detecting a segue to our sponsor.
Oh, wow. Wow, Linus, you really got us there. As you guys may know, we would love to support these sponsors, but we're not doing it.
Let's start with our Bayside.
Here we go,
bug detector
baby.
From Amazon. It cost us only $30, and with that considered,
it's a good price.
It has a lot of features.
Good price if you want to buy one.
To reveal cameras. It has an IR detector to find night vision cameras, a magnetic field detector for GPS trackers.
That's a lot.
An RF detector to help find devices that are transmitting on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth frequencies.
Ooh.
It's this last one that we hope will be the most useful for tracking down a hidden camera or microphone. Let's try it out. Let me just turn the sensitivity up a little bit and...
Imagine you're the Airbnb owner of this place and you're watching this video.
So that's a problem. Shut up! Ah!
So it seems like it's just going off.
The guides for how to use those things often instruct you to turn off any Wi-Fi or Bluetooth devices that are in the area. That's no problem during the Cold War, but is virtually impossible today. And even if I could turn off all of my neighbors' Xboxes, it's still going to be very susceptible to false positives.
Right,
See,
okay.
In the 80s, a light bulb transmitting RF, that would have been a dead giveaway. But today, it probably just means that your Airbnb host really likes RGB.
That's fair.
Shut up!
He's got the smart light.
The
Okay.
downside is that if a spy device was configured to record locally or to only transmit on a schedule, we would have very little hope of finding it.
Oh, interesting.
That's why the pros ignore toys like this and instead rely on real tools.
I could imagine like somebody going to Amazon and buying one of these, not just from this video, but like maybe they saw a TikTok of it. They went and they're like, oh my gosh, this thing is just going off. Like they don't understand that like a lot of different things, like an oven that has like electronic features to it probably is putting it off. Microwaves, different things of that. That would be so funny. That's like more of a prank gag than anything.
Like this.
Like ghost hunting.
The REI Orion.
I wonder how much these things cost.
A nonlinear junction detector, or NLJD.
JD.
It's kind of like a metal detector, but specifically for electronics. And
That's interesting. That's so cool, though.
Before we can do that, there are a few safety items.
Absolutely do not point this at your head or eyes. It is a microwave on a stick, and it will lightly cook your eyeballs and turn them opaque. Do not use it if there are anyone with a pacemaker or a hearing aid in, and also do not leave it in close proximity to any part of your body for more than 5 minutes in a row.
What am I supposed to do with this thing then? I could hardly use it, yet alone 5 minutes worth of it. This thing is gonna absolutely just fry me. I'm gonna lose brain cells, my vision, just because this thing was like too close for me for too long.
Okay, with all of that in mind, the first mode
I guess
we're
it's
gonna
probably
use
not
is
on, of course,
search
but
mode. This doesn't tell us much about what we're scanning, but by using pulses rather than continuous output, it allows us to use maximum scanning power without being
I
illegal.
love the
See, the FCC
elementary
won't
school
let me
headphones
be,
that he has
they'll
on.
let me be me. If me wants to output more than 3.3 watts of RF radiation, but they only specify average power. And search mode operates at only a 6% duty cycle, meaning that our peak power can be much higher without stepping into the illegal realm. So
Right, okay.
what we're looking for then
Hence
is a
why it's probably
high
banned in some
second
places.
harmonic response, which is this red line here. Since that
Thank
is the
you.
signature
Thank you,
of the
Linus, for
resistor.
explaining that because I was
We're
very
also
confused,
looking
but
at
it makes
the
sense.
third harmonic here on this yellow line, which might be an electronic device, but is more likely a rusty nail in a wall. So let's give
Okay.
these
Because it would be like metal. That would make
VHSs
sense. Okay, okay.
a little scan here.
Oh, yeah, the books. Oh,
Aha! Oh, do you see that? It changed over to semiconductor. So
That's-
there could be an
okay.
integrated circuit hidden right here. And to show you guys that it won't pick up a false positive, I can scan this circuitry hoodie from
Right.
HelpMeStore.com
You gotta have the
and
brand
see that,
placement.
no,
Okay.
In fact, these circuits are just
that's actually a pretty
switched
cool
on.
shirt. If you're like a tech
So let's
guy,
go ahead
I like
and
that. That's
change our
cool.
mode to listen.
Okay.
Now, instead of
listen.
bouncing around both bars, I can narrow in on just the second harmonic that I'm looking for.
And he's
I can
probably
actually
listening
hear
to
in my
it. Okay.
headphones, bunch of static, bunch of static, bunch of static,
Oh, he's got a beep.
and nothing. So what's in
Okay.
here then? Could it be
Another
a hidden
product.
Arduino? Yes, it could. And the coolest part is that it is completely unpowered and not transmitting anything. But our nonlinear junction detector didn't care. It was able to
like, I don't
easily
care.
find it anyway.
Those
So,
rules do not
the only
apply
question I
to
have now
things
then is,
powered or not
When
powered.
the Sam Hill does a
It will
microwave
find
blaster
you.
find electronics? Well, originally it didn't. The nonlinear junction detector was invented during World War II by Charles Boville. to
That's
find
insane,
corrosion
especially way
under
back
the
then.
hood Of planes. But before long, they realized, hey, it was also really good for tracking down spy devices. As can
You get
imagine,
scanned.
As quickly as the
Are you a
nonlinear
spy?
junction
No.
detector became popular, so did methods to defeat it. The CIA, for instance, spent a bunch of time and money creating the SRT-107, a special microphone that has filters built in that will shunt the signal of an NLJD to ground, rendering it ineffective. Meanwhile, the Russians developed a different plan. When they were mixing the concrete for the US Embassy in Moscow, they hucked a bunch of dead electronics into the mix so that there would be no way for the Americans to tell the real bugs from the false positives.
Oh man, dude, they were like, you know what? We'll build you like your own embassy. We'll build you like a nice little place. It's during a war, so I would like want to be on site. You know, I'm not gonna be like, oh, here's a place, and it's rigged with a bunch of microphones and transmitting things that could help us.
Very cool history lesson, Linus, but none of that answers the question. How in the Sam Hill does a microwave blaster find electronics?
Microwave blaster.
To understand how the detector works, though, we first need to understand what a nonlinear junction is. The nonlinearity that we're talking about is on the current voltage curve. For something like a resistor or a wire, you get a simple straight line like this.
Okay.
More voltage equals more current, which you
Right.
probably know as Ohm's law.
Yeah.
When you have two
Learned that.
dissimilar materials touching, though, like, say, for example, this brass and the oxidized brass that has formed around it, we'll get some nonlinearity on the current voltage graph.
But it still
that looks
trends
something
upwards.
Like this.
Okay.
And here's the fun part. Basically, every semiconductor is also a nonlinear junction because semiconductors contain diodes. Diodes are typically
Okay.
made out of silicon,
Here's the graph.
with one side having small amounts of antimony added to
Okay.
it, called N-type material, and the other side having a small amount of boron added, called a P-type material. An N-type
It's so
has 3
interesting.
electrons,
Like, these are
while
like
a
us
P-type
as
has
humans, like
holes that simulate
super-
a positive charge. Since one area has an excess
So
of
crazy.
electrons,
Not to say
and
that
the
this
other
is,
has
but-
an excess of places for electrons to go, naturally,
So
some
interesting.
of the electrons will diffuse from the N side over to the P side, leaving what's called the depletion region in the center. add power to the diode in the correct direction, and once you have enough voltage to overcome the depletion region in the center, about 0.6 volts for silicon, current will flow.
Right.
Reverse the direction of the battery though, and the depletion region will get larger, preventing the flow of electricity and making a diode what it is, a device that only allows electricity to flow in one direction. All of this results in a current voltage graph that looks like this. Pretty non-linear, right?
We love to see those.
To detect this non-linear junction then, all we need to do is run some power through the device. Any sort of RF radiation.
So it seems like he's running power potentially through this brass bird
that's nearby, like this little wire that we hooked up to our oscilloscope. And as you can see, all I have to do is put this here, and I end up with a sine wave. And since
wow, look at that. That's so cool.
Conductor, it will simply re-radiate out that signal like the sine wave we originally generated.
Very nice.
If the
makes it easy for all of us.
Non-linear junction though, the re-radiated signal will have additional components, and that allows us to tell the difference between a diode and a rusty nail because of the dramatic difference in how they react to a voltage or a current applied to their circuits. Now that we've got the oscilloscope hooked up, we can see how the different modes operate.
That makes me so interesting to learn how to use.
Continuous, where you can see that it's basically just firing out RF at a variety of amplitudes and frequencies to see if it can elicit some kind of response. It's throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. If we switch over to listen mode, things start to look a little bit more stable, but we don't get the real picture until we zoom way out. That right there is the pulses we were talking about, where it's blasting with higher power on exactly the frequency to find exactly what we're looking for, and then chilling out so that I don't get a knock on the door. There is one thing that kind of ate at us though. Typically the current that an RF signal will induce in a wire is very small. Like we're talking on the order of millivolts. But since a silicon diode won't allow any current to flow until about 0.6 volts, how the heck is this thing able to detect anything? Well, the answer is
well, before we get to the answer, what I'm assuming is what he's kind of talking about is that there is a level that is not adequate for picking up, but it's still getting picked up.
Making it very, very powerful. We saw over 1 volt in our wire that we stuck next to this thing because, again, guys, it's basically a microwave on a stick.
Right, so if I want to go to an Airbnb and I want to find hidden cameras,
if you want to be confident that no one is
I gotta buy one of these.
Should you run out and get one of these? Well, there are actually a couple problems. Big problems. Like, you might imagine this thing works like in a video game, right? You press up on the D-pad, it enters detective mode, and it highlights all the key objects in the room.
Right.
But not so much. The recommended scanning rate is about 1 square foot every 3 seconds. And that's for flat surfaces.
So you're telling me that I got to spend a whole week at this Airbnb just to see if there's hidden cameras, microphones, recording devices? I'm going to have to spend a whole week there covering this thing.
So,
what I'm saying,
a typical small office could easily take 2 to 3 hours to scan properly, while an executive office could take more like an entire day. It is a long and tedious process that, as a general rule of thumb, takes about as long as applying 3 coats of paint to every wall in a room. Another problem?
Okay, that's fair. That's good reference.
Eye-wateringly expensive. A questionable Express unit starts at about $10,000, with name brand ones like this landing closer to 15 grand.
You know what? I'm willing to make it happen. You know, I'm willing to drop $15,000 on an Orion nonlinear junction detector and also a bag on Airbnb.
That's actually one of the reasons that this project took so long to get off the
ground.
This
is like, it's interesting. I like the science behind this for sure.
eBay, which still cost us a couple of grand.
Oh my goodness.
That is still a lot of money for non-spy agency folks. But I think the biggest problem though is that an NLJD can't detect the most likely way that someone's going to bug you. Outside of an Airbnb, the chances that someone's going to go to the effort of hiding electronics
well, you never know.
Exceedingly small. Not because no one wants to spy on you, but because these days, everyone has a camera and a microphone on them at all times.
Right.
Sometimes more than one.
That's fair.
Why would I bother physically breaking into your place to plant a device when I could just remotely access a device you are already carrying with you from the other side of the planet without ever leaving my chair? So
he's all about that promotion of like, you know what? I don't need to do that. I'll just hack your phone instead. That's what I'll do. What an operation that's going on there.
If you're concerned about cameras in your Airbnb,
very much so.
That's totally valid.
I've seen some videos.
Best
Scary.
Is just to look around for anything suspicious. We're going to link to a couple of decent guides that we found on.
Right. I mean, yeah, you have it. There's guides
just
for
like
this.
How I'm spying this segue to our sponsor. It's over there. You can't see, but it's there. Look, I can detect it.
Rocket money.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Seems like that's taking us to the end of the video. If you guys want to see for sure if there's any hidden cameras in your Airbnbs, if you're planning a vacation or a trip with friends, then it's going to cost you around another 16 grand. Don't invoice me for that. That's not my thought. You know what? You could invoice Linus Tech Tips if that's something that you really want to do out of encouragement from this video. If you guys did enjoy it, leave a like and comment down below. Subscribe